and non-pliable matrix. So the bone is the second type of specialized connective tissue. It is hard and non-pliable matrix, which is rich in calcium salts and collagen fibers, which give bone its strength. But if you compare to the cartilage, it is hard and pliable matrix, rich in chondroitin salts. But here it is hard and non-pliable matrix, rich in calcium salts and collagen fibers. So the bone cells are called as osteocytes. They are seen in spaces. If you look into this uh, circular lamellar, what we call it as concentric circle, like you find the arrangement of this lamella. So within uh, so lamellas are there concentric circles. So within them you find some spaces called as lacunae. Within that lacunae you find bone cells or osteocytes. So the bone cells or osteocytes are seen in spaces called lacunae. Okay, so this sort of aversion system you find the arrangement in case of bone, and you can see here in a osteocyte they have the cytoplasmic extensions, so which interconnect the neighboring cells. So the cytoplasmic extensions are also there that you can notice in the osteocytes. So we'll be discussing about the types of bones in skeletal system. Now you just remember as a connective tissue, chemically what they are made up of, what are the bone cells called as? So bone cells are also called as osteocytes. They are seen in spaces called lacunae. Lacunae are found in concentric circles. So these concentric circles you can notice surrounding the Haversian canal. Okay. So now the functions of this bone, it provides structural framework to the body. So it gives a structural framework to the body. So that is the important function of the bone. So it supports and protects softer tissues and organs, especially the rib cage. So they are going to produce the support the and protect softer tissues and organs like the lungs, the heart. They are all going to support and protect the softer tissues and organs. The limb bones, they serve weight bearing functions. So the limb bones, they can withstand the weight bearing functions they have. So they take part in, the limbs also take part, the limb bones, they also take part in locomotion and movements. So the blood cells are produced in bone marrow, not only the RBC, but even the um WBCs are produced within the bone marrow. So the bone marrow is going to produce RBC and WBC. So bone marrow itself is of two types, red bone marrow and yellow bone marrow. Yellow bone marrow, they are going to produce the fat cells. They are yellow in color, they produce the fat cells. Whereas the red bone marrow, they produce the RBC and WBCs. That is the role of red bone marrow. So bone marrow itself is of two type, red bone marrow and yellow bone marrow. So if you look into the diagram of a bone, so this is the articular cartilage where they articulate with the other bone and help in the movement of the arms. So you can see the movement of the arms which is connected to the uh, cut the collar bones and as well as the uh, other bones of it. So they have that articular cartilage which helps in the movement of the bone. So they have within them the red bone marrow. So the marrow cavity is there and yellow bone marrow. So as I've already told you, the red bone marrow is responsible for the production of RBC and WBCs. The yellow bone marrow is responsible for the production of fat cells. Okay, so this is what you have to remember regarding the bone marrow and a bone. So the functions of the bone are, it provides structural framework to the body. Throughout the body, you have this structural framework because of this bones, the skeletal system, what they have. They support and protect softer tissues and organs like the heart, the lungs, they're all protected by the rib cage. So there are various organs that are protected by the bones. The limb bone serves weight bearing function, especially the forelimbs and hind limbs. They bear the weight bearing functions they have. They take part in locomotion and movements. So the limb bones also take part in locomotion and movement. So the blood cells are produced, that is RBC and WBC are produced within the red bone marrow, and yellow bone marrow produces the fat cells. So this is the function of the bone. Next specialized tissue is the blood. So blood has the cellular component and the fluid part. The cellular component, we call it as uh, they have this RBC, WBC, and the platelets. RBC or red blood corpuscles or red blood cells. So they are also called as erythrocytes. White blood cells or white blood corpuscles, they are also called as leukocytes. Okay, so and the blood platelets, we also call it as thrombocytes. Especially during this season, the blood platelet count matters a lot, especially whenever a person is suffering from fever and joint pains. The blood platelet count is taken up to determine where the nature of the disease also. So you have this diseases like chikungunya and dengue where the blood platelet count drops drastically. So you should understand about the importance of blood platelets. Okay, so now the red bone cells or the red blood cells, which are also called as erythrocytes, they have nearly 120 days of living lifespan. And what you have to remember is they are arranged one above the other like a group of coins. So we call it as Rolex. Okay, this arrangement we call it as Rolex. They are arranged one above like a group of coins or a pile of coins. We call them as Rolex. So they are biconcave in shape, the RBCs. Okay, they are enucleate. Red blood cells do not have nucleus except for camel. Camel has a nucleate RBC, whereas all the other mammals, they have enucleate RBC. That is, RBC is without nucleus. So the white blood cells, they are of different types. So you find the agranulocytes and granulocytes. So the granulocytes will be the based on the staining capability. The granulocytes are eosinophils. They are going to respond to acidic stain. Basophils, they respond to alkaline stains. Neutrophils. So you find eosinophils, basophils, and neutrophils. Based on the total amount of WBC, the largest distribution you find in case of neutrophils. See the granular, uh, A granular WBCs are monocytes and lymphocytes. See the monocytes are the largest cells, and you can remember about that. So the neutrophils, nearly 60 to 65% of the total WBC is composed of neutrophils. Okay, so remember about that also. So the granular part of it are the basophils. Uh, Based on the staining ability, granulocytes are of three types: neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils. Okay, so that they have not given you here the details regarding that, but you should be knowing about it. A brief introduction of it I've given you. So a fluid connective tissue contains plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Okay, red blood cells are also called as red blood corpuscles. They are also called as erythrocytes. White blood cells or white blood corpuscles, they are also called as leukocytes, and platelets are called as thrombocytes. So they help in circulation of various substances. Blood is also called as river of life. Why do they call it as river of life? They do a lot of, they are the vascular tissue. So the exchange of respiratory gases from the cell to the blood takes place. So they carry the respiratory gases to each and every cell of our body. They carry the nutrients also. Blood, that is why we call it as river of life. Not only do they help in the carrying of respiratory gases, and they bring about exchange of respiratory gases, blood also helps in carrying the nutrients to each and every part of the cell. So that is the role of blood. Apart from that, they also remove the excretory materials in the form of urea, which is carried in the blood and taken to the kidney, where urea is removed. removed. So the way blood purification takes place at two level. Purification at the heart level, it involves removal of carbon dioxide. So purification at the kidney level, it involves the removal of nitrogenous waste. So you should remember about that. So blood not only helps in carrying the nutrients and respiratory gases, it also helps in removing the excretory materials. Okay, and blood also carries the hormones. So these are all the various functions of blood, because of which we call blood has the river of life. Without blood, just like in plants where they have xylem and phloem, which is water conducting and food conducting tissue, blood is also a food conducting tissue. It also helps in the exchange of respiratory gases. It carries the respiratory gases. That is, it supplies oxygen to each and every part of the cell and removes carbon dioxide. Blood also removes the nitrogenous waste. So as they are carrying this nitrogenous waste in the form of urea through the blood, which is taken to the kidney, where the blood undergoes purification, which involves the removal of nitrogenous waste, and the nitrogenous waste is thrown out from our body in the form of urine. Okay, so remember about this role of blood, which is also called as river of life. Okay, so the next one, third type, is muscular tissue. As you can see, muscles. The flesh part itself is muscles. We call it as the skeletal muscles. So there are skeletal muscles. Then you have this smooth muscles or non-striated muscles. Where they are found in and around the organs. Then you find the heart has cardiac muscles. So representative it is. So you have the skeletal muscles, which are voluntary in function. Okay, they get exhausted. The non-striated or smooth muscles, which are involuntary in function, they are not under our control, and they do not undergo fatigue. Okay, so the cardiac muscles, they are involuntary in function. They are striated, but they are involuntary in function. So cardiac muscles, they have intercalated discs, so they are branched. So all this you can notice in the cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles never undergo fatigue. Fatigue andre becoming tired. So sustagala. So they never undergo fatigue or become tired. So that is what you can notice in the types of muscular tissue. See, muscular tissue is derived from mesoderm. The connective tissue is derived from mesoderm. Epithelial tissue is derived from all the three germ layers. So the muscular tissue is derived from the mesodermal in origin. So the muscular tissue or muscle tissue, the tissues are made up of many muscle fibers or muscle cells. So sarcomere, the muscle cells are also called as sarcomere. The outermost membrane of this muscle cell, we call it as sarcolemma. The cytoplasm of muscle cell, we call it as sarcoplasm. So remember about that. So the tissues, the muscular tissues are made up of muscle fibers or muscle cells. So the muscle fibers are composed of numerous myofibrils. So you can notice here the myofibrils. This myofibrils, the muscle fibers can contract and relax. That is, contract means shorten and relax, lengthen. So the muscles take part in locomotion and movements. Okay, so you can notice that the myofibrils will be containing the filaments, will be containing the chemicals like actin and myosin. So actin and myosin proteins are present in the uh, muscle fibers. So the muscle fibers can contract and relax. Contract is shorten and relax means lengthen. So the muscle takes place in locomotion as well as movement. So that is the part that you have to remember about. So the types of muscles, there are three types of muscles. Even in your high school, you might have studied about this. So the skeletal muscles, as you know, it is associated with the skeletal system, like biceps, triceps, pectoral muscles. So all these skeletal muscles, so which are associated with the skeletal system muscles. So we call it as skeletal muscles. They are striated. So you can also call it as striated muscles, and they are under our control, voluntary muscles. So you might have worked out on your biceps. Okay, so they are under your control, isn't it? You can move them. So, and also you notice that after some workout your muscles becomes tired, so they undergo fatigue. So skeletal muscles or striated muscles, they are voluntary in function. That is, we can control these movement of these muscles, and they undergo fatigue. Sustagate, they undergo fatigue. So the smooth or non-striated or visceral muscles, so they are spindle shaped muscles with a centrally located prominent nucleus. So these smooth muscles are non-striated, they do not have striations. That is why we call it as smooth muscles, or we also call it as visceral muscles, because they are concerned with various organs they are concerned with. So we call them as visceral muscles, whereas the striated muscles we call it as skeletal muscles. Okay, then cardiac muscles, they are found in the heart. So cardiac muscles, they also exhibit striations. Cardiac muscles are branched. Okay, for the first time you notice a branched cardiac muscles, and they have intercalated discs, so which is not found in the other type of muscles. Cardiac muscles has both the property of skeletal and smooth. Cardiac muscles are involuntary in function, we cannot control the cardiac muscles, but they do not undergo fatigue, neither do they undergo fatigue. So they have both the property of skeletal muscles, that is, they do not undergo fatigue. Smooth muscle, they have the property of they are not involuntary muscles, so we cannot control them. So both the properties you notice. Okay, so that is the unique nature of cardiac muscles. So let us study about them. So the first one is skeletal or striated muscles, uh, or voluntary muscles, because they are under our control. They have striations on them, and skeletal muscles are attached to bones. Example, biceps. Striations are present in the muscle fibers. You can see the light band, dark band. So the striations are seen in the muscle fibers. So the muscle fibers are bundled together in a parallel fashion. So they are all bundled together in a parallel fashion. So a sheet of tough connective tissue encloses several bundles of muscle fibers. So you can notice the epimysium, endomysium, and perimysium. They are the different membranous layers. Okay, and they have this uh, myofibrils. Myofibrils are arising from these uh, fibers. So they are all arranged as bundles. Okay, so you can notice those in case of the a muscle, it has a tendon. You can see how the muscle is attached to the bone through the tendon. Okay, and what the muscles are made up of? They are made up of many myofibrils which are arranged in a group, and these myofibrils will be containing the myofibrils will be containing the actin and myosin. So the myofibrils or the muscular cells, the outermost membrane of it, we call it as sarcolemma. The cytoplasm, we call it as sarcoplasm, and the cell, we call it as sarcomere. Okay, so the muscles are attached to bone. Example is biceps. The striations are present in the muscle fibers, that is the light and dark bands you can notice. So muscle fibers are attached in a are bundled together as a parallel, in a parallel fashion. They are bundled together. A sheet of tough connective tissue encloses several bundles of muscle fibers. That is the epimysium. They enclose several bundle of muscle fibers. You can see these things in the slide. These diagrams are not required. The above two diagrams, the diagram which is given along with the content, this diagram is important. Okay, from your exam point of view, if you are given this skeletal or striated or voluntary muscles to write, you have to write this diagram. So now the second one, smooth or non-striated or visceral muscles, they are involuntary muscles and they are fusiform. Fibers taper at both the ends. So that is why we call it as fusiform type of muscles. No striations. See, you can see the spindle shaped cells with tapering ends. They have no striations. They have a prominent nucleus, a distinct nucleus is formed. So cell junctions hold them together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheath. So you can see that they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheath. Okay, so they are seen in the walls of internal organs such as the blood vessels, stomach. So you can notice that in the walls of the internal organs they have this muscles, okay, such as the blood vessels, stomach, the longitudinal layer of smooth muscle, circular layer of smooth muscle, okay, in the stomach and intestine. They are made up of the smooth muscles. So they are seen in the walls of internal organs such as the blood vessels, stomach, and intestine. So the cells are spindle shaped with tapering ends with a prominent nucleus. Okay, so they are all bundled together in a connective tissue sheet. So they are seen in the walls of the internal organs such as blood vessels, stomach, and intestine. So they are involuntary in function and they do not undergo fatigue. So whereas skeletal muscles, they undergo fatigue. This point has been missed out, but you should write. See, the skeletal muscles, they undergo fatigue. The smooth or non-striated or visceral muscles, they do not undergo fatigue. They are involuntary. They are not under our control. They are not under our control. So the cardiac muscles. So the cardiac muscles are seen in the heart. Okay, so and I've already told you the cell junctions fuse the plasma membrane of the cells and make them stick together. So the communication junctions are there, which are nothing but the intercalated discs are the communication junction between adjacent cardiac cells. So we call this communication junctions as intercalated discs. They allow the cells to contract as a unit. That is, when one cell receives a signal to contract, its neighbor cells are also contracted. See, the cardiac muscles helps in the uh, origin and conduction of impulses. Okay, especially the origin of impulses is by the pacemaker of the heart, which we also call it as sinoatrial node. So the SAN is the pacemaker of the heart. So this SAN is also called as heart of hearts. Okay, so the pacemaker of the heart, that is sinoatrial node, they are going to initiate the heartbeats. Okay, these they are myocardial. So myogenic heart, human heart is myogenic. So the muscles are going to, it is a muscular initiation of the origin and conduction of impulses is by muscles. It is not neurogenic heart as in case of king crab, where the nervous system controls the heartbeat. So here, muscular system determines the heartbeat. So that is why human heart is myogenic in nature. So they you can understand the importance of this cardiac muscles, especially in conduction of impulses. So they play an important role in the communication junctions or intercalated discs. They allow to the cardiac cells to contract as a unit. That is, when one cell receives a signal to contract, its neighboring cells also contract simultaneously. Okay, so this is what you have to remember. So even the heart muscle or cardiac muscles, they have striations. Okay, they have prominent nucleus, but they are branched. Okay, and apart from that, what you have to remember is they do not undergo fatigue. They are involuntary in function. We cannot control the cardiac muscles. They are involuntary in function, as well as they do not undergo fatigue. They never become tired. So you have to remember about this feature of cardiac muscle. Okay. So the next part that we will discuss in today's class is the neural tissue. Okay. So the neural tissue, you might have already understood that it is ectodermal in origin. So the neural tissue, it is made up of neurons. So the structural and functional units of the nervous system is the neurons. It is a unit of neural system. So neurons are responsible for control and coordination of bodies. Neurons are excitable cells. They carry impulses. So they carry the messages or impulses. Neurons are protected and supported by neuroglial cells. So they have cells around them. So the neuroglia, you can see in the slide, permanent slide of it. So the neuroglia cells surrounding the neurons. Okay. Neuroglia, they make up more than half the volume of neural tissue. And here you have a slide of multipolar neuron. See this multipolar neuron, later you will also be drawing the diagram in your records. So what you have to remember is there are different types of neurons. So unipolar neuron, bipolar neuron, pseudopolar neuron, then there is multipolar neuron. So multipolar neuron has a single axon and many dendrites. Okay, so the cellular component is there. So the nucleus is quite prominent. They have granules here which we call it as tigroids or Niesel's granules. So the outermost membrane of the neuron, we call it as neurolemma. The cytoplasm, we call it as neuroplasm. So they have tigroids or Niesel's granules in them. So they have many dendrites. Dendrites carry the messages uh, towards the neuron. The cellular component of it, we call it as cyton. Okay, so they have a single axon which carries the impulses. So the impulses are brought to the uh, cyton, the cellular component of it, by the dendrites, and they are carried away from the neuron by the axon. So the axon, they are covered by this uh, myelinated layer they have. Okay, they have the schwanzes covering them, and in between we call it as node of Ranvier. Okay, so they have the schwanzes engulfing them. The axon branches to form telodendria, and they have this button-like structures. They end up with button-like structures called as uh, synoptic boutons. Okay, so their synopsis junction they are going to form there. So this is what you have to remember about the neural tissue. They are made up of neurons. The structural and functional unit of neural system. Neural system is neurons. They are responsible for control and coordination of the body. Okay, neurons are excitable cells. See, neurons cannot multiply. Whatever neurons we have, they can grow, but they cannot multiply. If some neurons are damaged, they won't be replaced. You should also understand that neurons never increase in their number. Whatever we had as infant, the same numbers we have, only thing they might have increased in length and size. Okay, so neurons, if they are damaged, they cannot be replaced. So neurons are excitable cells. They carry the impulses. Neurons are protected and supported by neuroglial cells. Neuroglial cells make more than 50% of the neural tissue. So neuroglial cells, they protect and support the neurons are protected and supported by the neuroglial cells. Okay, the cells are going to form the tissues. A group of tissues are going to form an organ. So a group of similar organs with similar functions, they form organ system. So many organ systems together form the organism. So you can see this how from a unicellular to a multicellular organism, a complex multicellular organism, you can notice in animals as well as plants in the above slides, a group of cells are going to form tissues. Many tissues together, they form the organs. So even in plants, you can notice tissues. Many tissues together, they form the organs like leaf. Many organ system together, they form the organism like shoot system, root system. Many organ system together, they form the organism. So this sort of organ and organ system, you can notice. So this organization of organ and organ system is essential for better coordinated activities of all these cells. So there has to be a teamwork. So this organization is required within an organism, like from cells, tissues, organs to organ system. So there is a teamwork activity, coordinated activity, so of these cells. An organ is made up of one or more types of tissue. Example, heart has epithelial tissue, it has connective tissue, muscular tissue, and neural tissue. So it is made up of all of these types of tissues. It is not just one type of tissue. So they have cardiac, muscular tissue is in the nature of cardiac cells. They have blood capillaries like arteries and the aorta, and superior, inferior vena cava connecting them. So you have the connective tissues also there. So the muscular tissue is there. Neural tissues are also connected to the heart. Then the pericardium, it is the epithelial tissue which protects the heart. So the membranous covering. So you have an organ like is made up of one or many types of tissues. Example, heart is made up of epithelial, connective, muscular, and neural tissues together. Okay, so that would be sufficient for today's class. So we have completed the structural organization in uh, animals. Okay, the types of animal tissues we have completed it. So I'll just check out with your syllabus part of it, like whether we are having this type study of cockroach and go with that. So as of now, this completes our discussion on the structural organization in animals. Do you have any doubts regarding this, students? If you have any doubts, you can get it clarified. Do you have any doubts?